Welcome, everybody. This is Activities Across Grade Levels, and today we're going to talk about international connection. All right, we've got some pretty fun stuff to share on that front. I hope you are excited, and especially at a time when kind of hard to travel. This might be the kind of episode that just kind of goes a little towards correcting that situation, at least where it is in our hearts. I know I am desperate to get out and see cool places again, but there you go. So let's pass out some thank yous as a part of this. We want to thank all the good folks at Fowler USD for taking an interest in what we do, and for Susan's participation and all of the good stuff that you guys are making happen with your schools, especially that new online school that y'all built this summer. Thanks also to all the folks at the Krause Center for Innovation and Merit 20 for taking part in what we are doing as well. Thank you to Richard Byrne at Free Tech for Teachers and all the good he does to help people see possibilities in free technologies and to help tell the story of the webinars that we do at Next Vista. He and I do one earlier in the day called Two EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff. And we have a whole lot of fun with it every week, and we hope you will join us for that next week. All right, so it is good to meet you. Who are these people who are running this little program? That would be me and Susan. Susan, who are you?
Hi, I'm Susan, like Rushton said. I am an instructional technology coach and a teacher on special assignment from Fowler, California. I am a former kindergarten and second grade teacher, and I am a mom of three. Rushton, I love that we both have our international backgrounds today. I'm coming from Canada here.
That is some seriously nice looking territory right there. I mean, I think sitting right where that is and just reading a book would be pretty much heaven at the moment. That would be fantastic. For me, I am in Kyoto. That is the background that you see, and one of my favorite temples, a place called Kiyomizu Temple. And I can go on and on about that, but we do have a show, so I will keep going. My name is Rushton. I am a former high school teacher. I did little middle school teaching as well, some college teaching, and then I became a principal. And now I run a nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning. Its main thing is an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Ding. All right, so that's what that is. Now, as you may know, one of the fun things I like to do in running these webinars when we do on Thursday afternoons is to give away a Starbucks card. Woo! So if you're kind of like, yeah, no, I'd like to win a Starbucks card, then what I'll do is I will toss into the chat here in the next couple of moments the sign up for the newsletter. If you're already on the newsletter, just when you get to the comments part, but I'm already on, just hoping to win some coffee. Totally fine for you to do. So feel free to watch for that. Now, how does this work? What we do is we take an idea today, international connection, and we talk about it for the K-2 crowd, and then the grade 3 through 5 crowd, and then the middle school crowd, and the high school crowd. And we try to give you some ideas that you can adapt no matter what level you teach. So with that, let's start with the young learners, and I hand it over to you, Susan. Would you like to take over the screen driving for this?
I think I would love to take over the screen today if you'll just go ahead and there we go.
Stop and pass it your way.
And there we go. All righty. Okay. Hold on. I'm having a new computer thing, Rushton. It wants permission. There we go.
Oh, it does.
All right. Good. There we go. Now you can see my screen, right? Here we go. So talking a little bit today about our young learners and how we can expose them to the world, right? Young learners have a hard time understanding places that are beyond the tip of their own nose. So how can we talk about making connections to the globe if they don't even really have that concept of that? So one easy way to build some understanding of international, what that even means, is through text, right? We can expose our learners to books that just give them some information and help them relate to ideas that people around the world have things that are very similar and as well as things that are different. So one of my favorite places to find text for free, right? Teachers' favorite four-letter word that starts with F, free. Epic Books. If you have not been to Epic Books before, it's a great place where teachers can get books to share with students. And even better is that teachers can go in and create collections of books on particular topics. So here you see a screenshot of one of those collections, and it's all about culture. And when we're trying to expose students to the idea of other places, one thing that they can definitely relate to is food, families, holidays, homes, school. Those are concepts that make sense to young learners. So when we try to give them texts on those topics about places from other cultures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go over to Epic Books right now and show you. I have some collections, and one of my collections here is Families Around the World. And what I can do in Epic is I can bring that up, and I see these are all about families and the way that families work in different places. And if I wanted to make my own collection on about a different topic, for example, maybe I wanted a collection about homes around the world. What's really great about Epic is when I search for a title, it brings up books. It brings up some books here. And I notice as I scroll through there, a lot of these are about animal homes. Let's see if what else I can find here. Let me show more. But I can find some books and I'm like, oh, Native American homes. That really goes along with what I'm trying to share here. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, and I can create a collection, and I can create a collection called maybe like Homes Around the World. So I'll make a new collection and it'll be called Homes. Now here's what's really cool. So once I've created my collection, I can just keep scrolling through all of these. I can add some additional filters like about reading level or about the age of my learners. But when I see this one here, ooh, Adventures, Homes Around the World, I can add that one to my collection, and I can add that one to my collection. Before you know it, I've got this wonderful collection of books for my learners. So when I go into my library and I see my collections, a whole lot of them here, but I'm like, oh, this great one about homes, let's check it out. When I want to share that to kids, here's my thing. I can just hit that share icon, very familiar share icon, and I can actually grab a link, put that in Google Classroom, whatever I want to do. So my students can do that, or I can assign it right here in Epic, and students can have this fun little library that gives them some ideas of how other people around the world live, whether that's, again, home, food, cultures, holidays, all great ways that we can give students some international connections, young learners, so they have that background and concept of what other people, how they live, how their life is similar, and how it's different. As we continue on, another way we can really get the idea of international connections with our young learners is having them participate in global collaboration projects. Some examples of these, you've probably heard of Socktober, the Hour of Code, International Dot Day, the Global Read Aloud. These are things we do in our schools, but what I really try to hit home to the students is that students all over the world are doing these same activities. People are coming together for a common goal, whether that's to learn how to code or to read certain books. It really is a fun way. And then some of those websites have collaborative maps. Like for example, the Hour Code puts little dots wherever people are participating in the Hour Code. And so I can help my students visualize what that idea is, how they're connecting to others, and where people from all around the globe are doing the same thing. Now I am going to share this video about Socktober. A couple years ago, one of my kindergarten teachers came to me and said, we'd really like to have a Socktober campaign. If you aren't familiar with Socktober, it is by the creators of Kid President, and they created this global collaboration where people from around the world come together to share a common goal, and that is to gather socks for those in need. So let's just watch what these little ones created about Socktober. Oh, maybe I can. You know what? I left the link off, Rushton. Awkward silence. You know what? We might need to save it for another week, and that's okay because we talked about how this might work with our next week's thing. But I'll tell you a little story about Socktober here, and that's simply that these 4-year-olds, right? They made a quick little YouTube video, and before you know it, they had gathered almost 5,000 pairs of socks simply by creating this video that was shared globally, right, to YouTube. So even young learners were able to make that global connection by sharing their project globally. And we'll get that link to there, and we'll share it. Maybe next week we can share the actual video of how these kids were able to help others by joining into this global collaboration project. And they were able to track where people from around the world were all coming together to do the same thing. As we continue on, of course, we've talked about MyMaps before, and I really think this is a great way to connect little ones to the concept of the globe and the world too. Because again, going back to text and literature, when a character in a story goes around the world, we can mark those places. And in this particular one, a character is gathering ingredients for her apple pie, and she's able to travel the world. And we used Google's MyMaps to mark those places. So just giving those little ones an idea. When I talk about places like Vermont or Jamaica or Sri Lanka, I can actually make it real by marking it on the map, and we can talk about which one's close to us and which one's far from us. So it's a great way for us to be able to do that. Google's MyMaps. In the upper elementary, we might use MyMaps as well. One thing about this transition is, in the example with the young learners, the teacher's usually controlling that. But as we start moving up in the grades, we really can put the learning into the students' hands and have them create examples of learning about other cultures. Maybe it's where their family comes from, gather ideas, and there's some of those concepts of like the foods they eat, but going further, what is the national anthem? What are some of the holidays and traditions? And so having students make that content, have students become the creators of content to really just have some of those connections. But even better, once we start learning about the places, is when we do start connecting with other people. We can use Google Earth to see, but even better is when we take something like Flipgrid. Flipgrid has an amazing program called GridPals. And the idea of GridPals, it's like virtual pen pals. And they'll connect classes from different places on the globe to have shared conversations about those topics. So when it comes to a common read book, maybe a shared experience that they've had, they'll talk about holidays, or they'll talk about a common theme. The students will all record their books, and they'll get to listen to the videos in Flipgrid from the people from different places. So GridPals is an organized way for teachers to find virtual pen pals where the kids can all collaborate on a common task. So really great way. GridPals is a way to have virtual pen pals with people from all kinds of places in the earth. And I'm going to go ahead and give that back to you now. Which button is it? I'm just not. There we go. Now you can drive, Rushton.
That works. Cool. And managed to get some of those links into the chat. If there are any that I missed, go ahead and toss them in, Susan, and we will make that available to our good folks who are joining us. So let's talk a little bit about middle school and getting them engaged in some of these kind of international possibilities as well. So, I look at something like GridPals and I'm like, that's awesome. The connecting with another class in another part of the world really depends on several different pieces, right? So there have been a number of free services for that over time, and having some kind of organized system behind it's important. So that Flipgrid kind of took this on as a way of getting people interested in the cool tool that they provide, but also just to give a structure for it makes a lot of sense. There was a program called ePals years ago. It was a really good site, but they didn't have a good business model around it, right? And so they didn't stick around forever, let's just say. But there are some other ones, and iEARN is one that has been around a long time. I think they are pushing like 30-something years of doing projects with classrooms connecting around the world. Ed Grager in the Northeast was their executive director, I think, when they first started, and for many years. And they have put together lots and lots of really, really cool things. So if you want kind of a more organized system, do know that there's a cost to iEARN. I can't tell you what it is, but it does provide a structure that allows you to get a sense. And it used to be that you could go on and you could begin kind of jumping in and seeing some of the different different things. And I believe that's still there, although I've also found when I started researching some of these pieces that it doesn't look exactly the same as it used to, right? So I figure, let's just select a country, see where we're going. So if you say, okay, I want to find out about something going on in Taiwan. All right, so I click on iEARN Taiwan, and here is like information about this and different things that that are out there that allow you to get to know what's going on with them. So when you start poking around the site, you can get a sense for, is this something I want to explore? Because the more you test stuff out, the better off you are. Now I want to hit kind of the basic idea of how to get like any kind of program that you set up on your own going as well. So let's say you've got a buddy who's teaching at an international school in Vienna or in Delhi or wherever it is. And you really want your kids and those kids to write letters back and forth, something like this. I want to give you a couple of pieces of advice for that as somebody who has done that before with students in Japan. So getting your students and students in another place, first and foremost, requires that there be a really good line of communication, as you'd expect, between you and the other teacher. One of the really good moves is to say, okay, there's you and a second teacher on your side, and then there's the key person and a second teacher on the other side. And then that way, if life kind of intervenes and someone gets really busy with something totally different, then you have somebody else you can reach out to, because otherwise an international project can stall completely when something like that happens. Similarly, if you are pairing up kids, don't think just in terms of one kid to one kid. Especially if they're older, like you got, say, middle schoolers, high schoolers, or something like this, where they're supposed to kind of do most of the driving, because it's kind of a bummer for a kid in one place who's all excited about the relationship, and the kid in the other place might be slacking off or whatever it might be. One way to do it is to pair pairs. So you've got two kids on this side and two kids on the other side, and they may be sending more notes individually, but they also will send some things to the pair on the other side. And then that way, again, if something happens and this kid's grandma got sick and so we'll be out of school for a week, they can let them know, and then maybe they're sending well wishes to them and things like that. So you structure these things in such a way that it can help. One other piece of advice: have kind of a solid ending to it. Otherwise, it always just fizzles. So I mean, if people want to stay in touch, of course that's fine, but try to get them in that space where they know that there's kind of this goal for the ideas that you're sharing or whatever, and then you reach an end, and then that's that. And so people can kind of celebrate a full project. Okay. I'm gonna bring back MyMaps as well, because when you think about the different things that kids are encountering, especially up at the middle school level, their sense of the larger world has expanded heavily. But this same tool that we talked about with the young learners and with the upper elementary can be great for the groups in the older grades as well. And when you have a set of schools in different places taking part in something and being able to like click on these and to see like messages that they share to each other and stuff, that's pretty good fun. So being able to build that into a map is good. And then also, if you're just doing this with all of your learning over the course of the year, people get more and more and more familiar with the basic outlines of the world map. So it's not every country where kids by middle school have a good sense of the continents and where most of the countries are and things like that. So having something like that gives them a frame of reference can be very, very nice. High school. All right, for our older students, what are we going to do with these guys? Well, I would say that one of the cool moves is to find some really, really intriguing visuals for them. And one that I have used with students before that I think is really interesting is this one about Thailand. It's called Aroy, the Thai food cart. So this video is between 5 and 6 minutes long. There's no dialogue at all, right? It's just clips of different things happening in different places, but built around a theme of food. And there are so many really interesting moments in the video that can lead to a lot of good discussion. Towards the end, one of my favorite parts, towards the end, there's this point where there's this set of stalls and everything, and you notice that the path between them is railroad tracks. And so this train comes through, and as soon as it passes, the person with the camera looks, kind of looks back, and boom, the different stalls have jumped back into the space. And it's just the kind of thing where they're able to use that space, jump back out, train passes, jump back in. And it's the kind of thing that a kid will watch and go, wow, right? Because it's definitely one of those things that isn't the norm for most. If you're going to think about connections to other places, one of the best things to do is pick up a little language skill along the way, right? We don't want to always assume that everybody else has to speak English. That's a little culturally questionable of us, right? And there's a certain fun in getting into a space where what you do is you say, all right, yeah, I want my students to pick up greetings in any given language. Well, the Duolingo site or app is one that kids can use to begin figuring some of this stuff out. And so you might say, oh gosh, but I don't know, they don't have Swahili, do they? I believe they do, right? They have got a lot of options. And as you begin looking at the different things that they offer, if what you're doing is just trying to show that you're trying to learn, that can go a long way in terms of helping kids in other places stop and go, wow, that's really cool that they went to, some work to learn a little Czech or Hindi or whatever it may be. And just as a game, Duolingo is gamified learning, right? Can be a lot of fun myself. A lot of fun as well. I myself have spent a lot of time with this, and I am on, I think, day number 608 in a row of my attempts to learn a little Chinese, which is kind of fun. Lastly, think in terms of what is it about your community that you would want to tell somebody if you were meeting them. So let's say you're doing one of these projects and your kids are introducing themselves, their school, their town to folks in another place. How does that come together? Well, short videos are a really good way to do this. And on the Next Vista website, you can find an area called Global Views. And what we would love is for your kids to make some videos that we can put there and you can share with folks in other places. We would love for your kids to be able to say, this is what we think is important about our community. And this is a part of what we do, on a daily basis. And there's a lot of cool pieces that are a part of that. So I hope you'll give that a look as well before jumping into a project on your own, because it's just a free resource that's there and available to you. So if what we're trying to do is get kids to connect, we need to make sure that we've got the energy to handle logistics that maybe we don't normally need to handle. And so that involves taking good care of ourselves, right? And so I hope that if you are not in a habit of eating right and getting enough sleep and get a little exercise, you'll do so, because you never know when that one kid is going to need you to kind of be at the very top of your game in order to help that kid get past a challenge that might be significant. Thank you from Next Vista. As I mentioned before, there is a newsletter sign up, and I have put that link in the chat. You can see it there, nextvista.org/newsletter-sign-up. And let us know kind of what you're thinking about any of these pieces. And if you mention in there that you are interested in the Starbucks card giveaway, your name will be in the hat. So all good. If you're already on, just let us know. That would be a good thing to save me a few moments of trying to sign you up if you're already getting it. All right, I have a blog at rushtonh.com, rushtonh.com. It's called Inspiring Improvement. And I got something out in September. I'm determined to get something out in October. I'm getting back into gear on some of these things, but lots of other thoughts that might be useful to you and your colleagues. Got some books. I'd be very happy to work with you on a book study if that's of interest to you. Happy to connect for free and just spend a little time talking to you if that would be of value. If you have some questions, stick around once we finish the recording, and we would be very happy to share some ideas with you. Now, Susan, if people are trying to get in touch with you, what might they do?
You can find me on the internet under the name Tech Coach Susan. You can find me on Twitter and other places using that name, Tech Coach Susan. I'm Susan and I'm a tech coach. Super original handle there, right? Also, you can see some things I share under the hashtag K2Can2, because we're all about celebrating what our littlest learners can do.
Excellent. You can find me through nextvista.org, and I hope that the kinds of things that you see as we do these programs are things that will allow you to see some new possibilities for what you do as well. So as you think about some of the different things that are a part of what you do, feel free in our time after the recording to stick around and just talk to us a little bit. You know, what are some things that you've had some trouble fleshing out? Susan and I, between us, have a lot of experience with different kind of possibilities for schools, and that's why we have put this series together. This is the 27th, 28th, 27th episode of Activities Across Grade Levels. And all of those recordings are available to you on the nextvista.org website. Where do you go to find that? Well, that would be nextvista.org, right? So if what we do is go there, the easy way to find what's up is to go over here to the webinar section over here. You can click on any of those links and get to a place where you can register for the upcoming ones. If you want to find the archives of Activities Across Grade Levels, go here and you will see our sharing a message and our bits on graphic design and simple video and more from last week, from the one before, Google Arts and Culture, and all of the incredible fun that's a part of that. And it just keeps going. So we hope that you will make this a resource for you. So with that, what we will do is we will wind things down. We'll stop the recording and we'll just start talking to the folks who stick around. So with that, if you have caught this as a recording, feel free to share your thoughts in the nextvista.org contact page. You'll see it at the top of nextvista.org, and let us know what you think. We appreciate getting to spend a little bit of time with you, and we hope that you will have a wonderful week. We will see you very soon.